these Zoom workshops since we can't do it in person right now. So this is, I'm Alice Brees, and today we're going to be working on this book art, Books Open, a Window on the World. And so you have your kits, so I'll just start out by going over what you would have gotten in your kits and the tools that you should have on hand to do it. So you would have gotten a used book, discard from the library. There's some pages here. There is a white kind of a cardstock page, some type of patterned paper, a page with a color copy of these different images that we'll be using. This is kind of a wood grain type of paper for the bookshelf. This is a photo holder that will act as our window. And this is, you have either a type of lace across the top. This will be kind of a curtain topper for the window. This is, so it's either lace or ribbon. So that's in the kit. And then the tools that would be good today are the scissors, pencil, glue, double stick tape, and some paper clips. You use glue stick if you have that. So pretty basic stuff that you probably already had in the house. So yeah, we'll start by checking out our books. That's one thing that I like to do when I'm at a used book sale or a garage sale, you know, looking for or checking out old books in your own house, maybe old textbooks. So first, just look at your book, make sure, I know since these are library discards, the pages are relatively newer and they're not going to be brittle. But say if you're out shopping at a garage sale or something, you want to just look at the condition of the book, and also take off, I'm not sure if the if you have a library glossy cover, you can take it off now if you want to. They're glued on the inner part of each cover. So you can just take off any, glossy covering on the outside. I think you could leave it on if you want to. And it's okay if it tears anything on the inside of the cover, you can always just cover that up so it's not distracting, or, you can just use glue or double stick tape and put the page in front of the cover. Okay, so first, just kind of check the condition of the book. And like I said, this is just generally, if you're picking a book to do some book art with. Just see that there's no heavy, say, black marks on it that would be distracting, that the pages are able to be folded without being too brittle. I actually made the mistake once of using it might have been a 100-year-old book, and that I had to be so careful with that, and I wasn't able to do all that I wanted with it because the pages were so brittle. Anyway, so you have the hardcover book, and for this, just about any size will work. My preference is for, less than 400 pages, just so it doesn't get too bulky. All right, so we'll find the center of the book. You can do it just visually, and it's just approximate, so it looks when it's sitting, when it's finished. So just go and check how many pages in your book. Mine is, and it, like I said, it does not have to be exact. Mine is about 160, so I'll be starting around page 80. So we just want to find generally the center of the book. just so it, if it were so uneven, that might look a little once it's done. So we have the center, and now just take 2 pages. I'll show you again what we're going after. This center roll, we're just going to take 2 pages and roll them up and glue them as a roll in the center, and this will help keep the book standing open. That's a part I'll show you at the end, for displaying it. So we're going to create the roll in the center. So just take 2 pages, and your pencil will help at this point. So just start rolling them. Get the paper is pretty strong, really, and it'll hold the shape. So it's pretty good to work with. So just put your book down and take 2 pages and start them rolling with the pencil just to get the shape going. So just get them going that way. Then you can lose the pencil and see the pages already have that shape that you want now. So now you can roll it up. It doesn't have to be really tight or anything. And just so it's going to sit in the middle like that. And now you take your glue, and this is where you could probably use an extra hand or something. Actually, this is where the paper clips can come in handy. If you're able to just put a paper clip to help you keep this in place. Just take your glue, and probably the easiest way is to put the glue just right in where that roll is going. And it doesn't take long for glue to set up. So just put it in there, and it's okay if the roll loosens a bit, doesn't have to be really tight. And then just hold it in place for probably 2 or 3 minutes is all it'll take, and it'll be set up. And so your book, I think it would look best, this is something at like right angles, so that's how you want it to display. So that's the center roll. And then you can keep those paper clips in there if you want to just let it finish drying. But it's already pretty much set in place. It's not going anywhere at this point. Okay, so that's the center part. And now now we're going to look at the wallpaper and wall colorings. So this is not to scale or anything. I've never done an actual miniature where everything is to scale. This is just to suggest a room. This is just visually, so you'll be creating what with the paper that you have here. One is kind of a solid off-white, and the other should be patterned paper. You can also use, if you have scrap paper in your house, something like that, cardstock. I think heavier paper. I wouldn't just use plain, copy paper. I think that's a little too thin, but I would say at least cardstock. And so we're just suggesting in wallpaper, So just look at your, take your paper, and now this page I think is 8.5 by 11, and books are typically, I'm finding the dimensions are generally 6 by 9 inches. I mean, give or take, books come in all sizes, but when I'm looking at the books that we collected for discards for this workshop, a lot of them fall into that size, 6 by 9 inches. Anyway, so the paper that you have there, it'll probably cover the whole page. It's up to you if you want some print showing, you can do it however you want. But the way I did it is you put the paper in, so it's covering the page, and it can be over. It can be larger than the page. You can see this white paper is coming above and below the actual page. But I think that looks good. So I like how that looks. So you put the paper there, set it in where it will go. And then turn around and get your pencil and trace along the back, because you want to cut out the paper so it fits. So all I need here, and it's better to cut too big than too small. So all I need here is this edge cut. I'm happy with how the top and bottom are looking. So I'll just cut this edge. Sorry, I should have said ruler. But actually, I'll show you a trick too. So your paper has one straight edge, and then you'll be cutting. And you can have the straight edge facing outward, so you can kind of hide if your cut is not straight or something. So now I've cut my page, and I'm going to put the cut edge in to kind of hide it. So that's a good trick. Take advantage of where you already have your straight corners and straight edge on that side. So then this can be held in place with glue or double stick tape. Just doesn't take much. The paper's already stiff. It practically holds in place by itself. But just use some double stick tape and put it on the page, and that's it. So you have that wall. And if you want to, you can create kind of a chair rail effect. Now how, say in a dining room or something, you have the paint on the bottom. I think how it usually goes, solid color on the bottom and then the pattern on top. So if you wanted to, you could cut the pattern paper and put it over this. So you have that's as if it were paint, and that's the pattern. So I'll give you a couple minutes. Does anybody have any questions? You can just speak up and let me know if you have any questions at this point.
Can I see the one that's finished already again? I'm sorry.
Yes, sure. For this finished one, I just used solid, color, and patterned. I just kept it really simple. And then, so for now, we're just cutting out the whole size. Here's another example. On this one, it's just solid ivory and solid gray. And just keep in mind, this is, this can be just the first book of these you're making. If you have another idea in mind, oh, wouldn't that pattern be great on this? Make another one in the future. You'll have the video. And so this is just to learn how to do it, and you can experiment different things. But basically, this is what we're after. So this would be, this side is cut out, and then you just attach it to the page. And then this side, I would also go ahead. So I'll show you again what the finished one looks like. The way I did the finished one, I just had solid on the left side, and I just used the pattern on the right. And then later on, cutting out the window is even optional. So that's all you have to do at the moment, is just pick just cut out the two shapes that'll fit over the page. So I'll just give a few minutes for that. I don't want you to feel rushed. So And I will get things ready for the next step. So again, I'll just show on this one. Sorry, this is harder to see. This is double-sided paper. So anyway, so on this example, I have the ivory colored on that side, and now I'll be cutting out the pattern for the right. So you just set the paper in where you want it to be on the page. Like I said, if you like some print in there, just to remind people it's actually a book, or if you happen to have a page, some pages might already have some blank space. So you could just cover part of it. But so just pick how you want your two walls to look. And then, in this example, I'm setting the pattern paper on the right side. Now I'll turn the page over. Now I'm just tracing around it. And like I said, go larger rather than smaller. It's okay that the paper extends beyond the page. That's fine that it does that. Then you trace the edge of the page and then cut along those lines. I'm just checking my size here, that I'm doing it correctly. Yep, okay, I got the height right. So you just cut along your traced line. And then, like I said, these pages are thick and they kind of stay in place by themselves. At least this one is staying in place. But yeah, it just takes like, one strip of double stick tape, or if you wanted to glue it down, that's fine, but it doesn't take much to just hold that in place. Okay, so let me go on to the next step. So this is the basic look of the room. So now we have this. So now take out the page of the color copy that has the different images on it. And we're going to cut out some of these images. So I'll just show you again this example. There's a cabinet on the bottom. So we'll be cutting that out. And there's a bookshelf, that's the wood grain paper. And then there's it looks kind of like a picture frame, the framed words, books open. So for now, let's cut out the cabinet and the frame. So we'll start with that. And if you have colored pencils or crayons or anything that would add color, you can color any of these. You can outline if you want a heavier look to the frame. You can color in if you want to change the color, but it also works just with white, All right, so just cut out these, the books open frame and the cabinet. And the cabinet does have some small, like I said, if you have colored pencils, you can outline it. And again, we're just suggesting we're suggesting a room. You know, this is not to scale. There are some small little details. It looks fine. Just cut right around. And these will attach to the page again with either double stick tape or glue stick or glue. Okay, and so then you can start to see the placement. So the cabinet, oh, I guess that's really the bottom. The bottom is there, and that's the top, I believe. Well, it seems to work either way. Anyway, so the cabinet goes on the bottom, and then the book's open. Just, you can see the layout, you know, how that'll work. You can wait if you want, you can put it down now. Our next step will be the shelf. So you can just get an idea for a cabinet that width. Do you want the shelf to be the same width? I think I gave you a pretty good amount of that wood grain paper. So this one has a little different design on it. But so now you're seeing the room is setting up. I'm just going to use a glue stick just to hold this in place. So you've got the cabinet. And the frame. And when you're gluing these or taping these, just, you know, watch for the centering, you know, however you want it to look. But I think for this, you know, relatively center, I think looks better. And I'm just doing this quickly, but you probably want to, you know, put glue or glue stick or tape around to the edges. See, I'm not doing the edges there, so it's coming up. So you get it to the edges. That looks better. Okay, so you get those. Generally, you see where they're going, and then your wood grain paper. And this will be the bookshelf. So first, look at the width. I'll have the shelf a little wider. And the length, let's see, this is an example. So you're cutting, sorry, I should have suggested a ruler. That might help. But this one is cut the same width as the cabinet. And that's probably a little more than an inch high. So what, I'll just show you how this will work. So you're just folding. This will be folded in thirds just to create the shelf. This will be glued to itself. And then I'll show this a little closer to the camera. So this is the size of the shelf that I'm using. You can make it bigger if you want. And then this gets folded in thirds. So this bottom third creates the shelf, and then this gets glued. This will get glued here, and then this gets glued to the back. So that it stays on the page like that. And you can put it, whatever looks good to you. And don't forget, there's going to be a little book on top, so allow room for that. So let's go ahead and glue the shelf. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, so you have the shelf.
Actually,
so
Alice,
this gets,
I'm
yes.
sorry, I couldn't find the unmute button. New at this. Could you just show how you folded that one more time?
Yes.
The shelf one more time?
Yes.
I apologize.
Yeah.
Thank
No, it's
you.
fine. Please don't apologize. Okay, so this is the shape of
Right.
the paper.
Okay.
So the bottom third, actually, so this bottom part is going back.
Okay.
So it's just creating kind of a sturdy shelf. So this will get glued. So yeah, you can fold it in thirds. The bottom third is folding back.
Okay.
And so I'm going to glue this now. And the glue adds a certain amount of strength to it also. So it works pretty well. So the bottom, that's creating the bottom of the shelf.
Okay.
And then the back, the top part, just put glue on this top part because you want the shelf to stick out from the page.
Okay.
So the glue is on the top part. And now this goes, I'm going to put it roughly there. And again, just watch your, I would watch the location compared to the cabinet, just so it looks relatively symmetrical, and then straight. I would just watch whether it's tilting. And then again, just hold it in place for a little bit, and that's your shelf.
Thank you, Alice.
Sure. Oops, mine is tilting. Yeah, you have probably about a minute to move it if you need to move it before the glue totally dries. So, okay. So we're getting there on this side of the room. And we'll take a short, maybe 3-minute break. I don't want to throw all this at you at once. So I'll show you the books. That's kind of the fun part. The next thing we'll do is these little books, and then we'll just take a 3-minute break, just to chill out for a few minutes. And then we'll do the right side of the room. Okay, so this is where we are at the moment. Whoops. We have the 2 walls that are in place, and we have the cabinet, the shelf, and the frame. Now we will create some books for the shelf. So these I was lucky enough to find in a magazine, the little, I think it was a catalog, and it was, I immediately saved the page and cut these out. So these are fun. This is, to me, this is what kind of makes, just sometimes a little detail can just make the thing that you're doing. So you have on your color copy paper, there are actually 3 book covers. The one, it's called Green Mansions. That's a little larger. I'm just now realizing, I think it'll still fit on the shelf, but anyway, so the 2 here are a little smaller, but yeah, so go ahead and cut out the book covers. They're kind of a cartoon. 2 of these small ones are kind of a cartoon type of look to it. And then the Green Mansions one, I think, is actually, that might have been from a Reader's Digest old book. And so that's actually looks like what the cover would look like. So go ahead and cut out your book covers. And so I'll give you a minute to do that. So there's one. And don't forget to cut the back. On the color copy, like this one is not as obvious, but you want the front cover that has the image, and you want the back cover, because this will be folded to create the little book. So this is an example for this one, The Little House on the Prairie. This will be folded. And then we'll just be adding, again, just to suggest a book. We'll also be cutting. That's the next step you can do. And you only probably need 2 books, whatever, you can use all 3. But the next step we'll be doing is use the white part of the paper and just get the size. You can turn, this is the cover for The Little House on the Prairie. Just turn it over so you can trace around it, because you want two of the same size, roughly, white pages. that will fold and that'll go inside. So I'm just tracing around this book cover just to get the size that I want to cut out. And you could cut these a little smaller than the cover just to make sure it fits inside. And if maybe we don't have to make all 3 books right now. I'm just showing you how to make it, and then we'll take a break. And then you'll know how to finish the other 2. Okay, so here's an example. Here's the book cover. And then if I cut this correctly, this is 1 page of white paper that will fit inside. You just fold it. So again, just to suggest a book. And so this is folded, and then just the thinnest strip of glue on the edge. You want the page to be able to open. So I'm going to, does anybody have any questions? I'm putting the very thin strip of glue on the edge. And then the white folded page goes inside the book cover. And I'll just hold this. Okay, so that's what you end up with there. That's easier to see. So the folded white pages just have a thin edge of glue on the fold. That's actually enough to suggest a book. You can stop right there if you want to. So, but what I did, I can show you on the books that I did go ahead and cut another page and add it inside. So you can do that one more time. You can cut another white strip and fold it and put a thin edge of glue on the fold. And then this goes inside. So now the book has the suggestion of front cover, 4 white pages, and back cover. And if you find the white pages are little, you can still trim them. These aren't fitting quite, so I'm just gonna trim the 2. So that suggests a book. And then this, it just takes a little double stick tape on the back, or glue stick or glue. And all you have to do is attach the back cover to the shelf and it will stay there. Sometimes it'll just sit on its own. But anyway, so that'll be the look. All right, so does anybody have any questions? And then we'll just take just a couple minutes break. And then we'll start on the right side. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, I'm just gonna take 2 or 3 minutes. Feel free to get some water or whatever, and I'll be back in 3 minutes. Okay. So this is, actually, we're doing pretty well on time. It's, we've only gone 40 minutes. I wasn't sure how long this would take, so we're doing really well. So this is what the books look like when they're done. All right, so we've had a little breather. Let's start on the right side. So this is now, we'll be looking to create the window effect. We have an outside image. We have the photo holder that we'll use for the window, and that is optional. Obviously, you can have a create the same without the holder. You could just have the opening and just the outside image. So now we'll work on the right side. Okay, so first let's look at the window. So you have the patterned paper or blank, whatever your right side looks like. Even if you've glued it down, you can still do this. If you've glued it, it's only attached to one page, and you can easily cut through both of those things. So, all right, so now we're dealing with the right side. And okay, first, to get an idea of the size and the shape, let's go back to the color copy and look at the outdoor images and get your photo holder, and you'll get an idea. And this holder will work either way. It could be a window the lengthwise. You could do it that way. If you went lengthwise, the image would be this one. That one fits lengthwise. I'm not sure, maybe the other one does too, but I know for sure this image, you would cut it and fit it in the holder. And just so you know, cutting the window is optional. You can just cut out the image, put it in the holder, and that works also. Then you put the curtain topper over that. So, but I will show you how to cut out the window because it just kind of adds to the dimension of it. So go ahead and cut out your outdoor image, whichever you want to use, or if you had your own photo, I mean, you could definitely, if you had some kind of image that's that size, you know, just a thought for the future, if you could use your own image and put it in there. Okay, so let's go ahead and cut out, and you'll see that use the photo holder to get an idea of the size. So most of this image will fit. So I'm going to cut out this image. So go ahead and cut out your outside image, and you can check the fit. The photo holder has the front glossy part and this backing, and then there is adhesive, so that has backing paper that will come off if you want, and you can stick it right onto the page. That's one way to do it. So now we're cutting the image so it fits into the photo holder. So I'm just seeing how small I have to go here. So you can, I'm just kind of eyeballing it for the size. you can put the holder over it and trace on the back to give you your cut lines. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, so now we're creating the window. And there's the image fitting into the window. So that's good, that's what we want. And now to create the shape, so take your, on the right side, the paper on the right side of the room. And so you'll be cutting, let me show you how it ends up. You're cutting the paper, just an X, a box that's a little smaller than the holder. So the holder is, I'll show you step by step, it works. It's might look a little confusing at the moment, but for now, just create what I did here, mark a box that's a little smaller than the photo holder. So for here, I'm going to put 2 marks there for the ends, and then 2 here. And then you actually, the easiest way to do it is create an X. If you want, you can watch me do one. So we want a shape that's a little smaller than the holder. So you create the box shape, draw the X, and then just kind of fold to get started. And each of these sections, they're just cutting up to the point. And then each section gets folded back, and that creates the straight edge. So that's like, that's the tricky part on this, is creating the straight edges. So you have the X shape. Now you're folding this back. And now you can kind of see where it needs to go to create the straight edge. Otherwise, it would be really hard to cut along here and create a straight edge that way. You're cutting like inside the paper. I don't think I'd be able to do it. So you're cutting the X shape. Does anybody have any questions? And then you're folding back the paper to create the straight edge. So you do that for the 2 sides. Okay. So you're folding back on both sides and the top, and then we'll do the bottom separately. So this is creating the window. And this part gets a little tricky. Don't stress too much about it, because you will have a topper, and basically you're creating, folding back, and then you can cut away the trim, cut the excess away. And then you're just taping it down, or glue stick. Then the bottom part, if you look here, I rolled the bottom section down just to create the windowsill. So that's kind of another fun detail that gives more depth to it. So this bottom part, we just roll it down. And then that'll get glued in place. And it doesn't take too much. Then you just kind of push it wherever you just kind of square it off. And that's a windowsill. Again, just suggesting a windowsill. Then you just glue it, unroll it a little bit, add some glue. Does anybody have any questions?
We're all just busy cutting.
Oh, okay. Just want to make sure everybody's still there. All right, I'll take a minute and let people cut and have a little quiet. So that's the windowsill. And then this is how the image goes behind it. Yeah, this part, the window part does get a little tricky. You know, this is, if you look at this closely, I can see this is not perfect, but we're not after perfection, fortunately. Otherwise, this wouldn't be any fun. So, yeah,
Plus,
just,
can
what's
you
that?
Can you show me the back of that before you stick the picture? Just
Yes.
want to see how you did that. Okay. So
Yep.
you just folded them back and
Yes.
okay, yeah. I unfortunately, yeah, I was cutting and wasn't paying attention.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't see.
Yep.
You just fold them back, and then you said to make the windowsill, you just rolled it.
Yes. Yes, just rolling it, I guess relatively tightly, and then glue. Then you can, once you get to the bottom, you can kind of shape it in place however you want. You know,
Okay.
you can square off the edge and then add glue.
Okay, thank
So
you.
it's, again, just suggesting a windowsill.
Great. Okay, now I'm caught up.
And so the last part of all that is, so now you have the image in the photo holder. And so before you stick, just put things in place first before you use any adhesive, just so you can be sure how it's fitting. So in the end, you'll have, this will be in front, this window and the paper. Then this will be behind it. And so to finish, all you need to do, so you just want to see where is this is going to attach to this page back here. So now you might want to mark where you're putting it, or just be aware that it needs to be behind this opening. So when you're adhering this image, make a mark, and then this already has adhesive. So this photo holder has release paper on the back, and you can do it kind of slowly. You can do part way and then put it in place. It's a little easier than trying to do it all at once. So I started taking down the back release paper, put this photo in place, and then put the front image just to check that I've got it right. And then when it looks right, I'll go ahead and continue taking the release paper off. And that's the window. And actually your front, you can even adjust the front. if you didn't get it exactly, if you haven't glued, this can go a little farther to the left or right. So that's it. So that's your window with the sill and the image. And once you're happy, and once you're happy with how it looks, then you can just put in the double stick tape or whatever adhesive you have, glue stick, and then that will end up like that. That's probably the trickiest part of the whole thing, is doing that window. Because after that, then we just have 2 steps left. We'll have a curtain topper, and then we have the words on the bottom there. And that's it. Then we're done. Okay, so how's everybody doing? Should I give a minute or two for catching up? I'll give a minute, and then we'll start with the window. You can get out your curtain topper, ribbon or lace, and actually just trim it if it needs. I can see this edge is a little, trim it if it needs to be trimmed. Frayed, this edge is a little frayed. Frayed, not afraid. So I'm just going to trim the edge, because the edge will be visible when you put it on. Okay, so we're getting to the end. So this is where we are at the moment. That, and then the little book on the shelf. And now now we have our window and image. Now the curtain topper just gets attached, and you can totally shorten it. You can cut it so the topper is more similar to the width, whatever width your window ended up at. Yeah, maybe this looks better. That looks kind of funny. The curtain is so much wider than the window, so I'm going to trim this. So I think it looks best when the curtain is a little wider than the window. So I'm going to just visually see where that point is and trim it. And yeah, you want to make as much as possible. It's not that easy to cut fabric either. But as much as possible, just a straight cut down the side, and then that gets attached. I'll use glue on this. On fabric, I think double stick tape might actually be better. Glue might come through the fabric. You could try it, but I think I'm going to use double stick tape or glue stick. I think either one of those would work the best, double stick tape or glue stick. Just glue might be a little too much for the fabric. It would come through. So then you're just taping that in place, and I think a little, just so it's covering up the paper there. You wouldn't want to tape it up there. That would look funny. So just so the curtain is over, and then just watch on either side that it's even. So when you're putting things in place, you just look for anything that could make it distracting. If this were a little tilted, or if it were too much on one side, that would be distracting. So that's, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you don't want it to be distracting where, yeah. So actually I got this a little off. Luckily, double stick tape is forgiving. I can take that up and move it. So I'm going to put it right about there. So now we have the curtain on the window, and the last part is just cutting out the end of the saying. So then it's books open, a window on the world. And then that just gets either glued or taped to the bottom. And that's it. Let's see, we'll put a little book here. That's the finished look.
Cool.
That's everything. And so at this point, put your finished product. I'll show you what to do. I didn't actually, this keeps falling. I haven't used enough glue on that yet. But yeah, whatever point you're at, I just want to show you. Now I can see I have a problem here. This is a little long, so I can still trim this. See, when I'm putting this up, it's folding funny. It's not sitting right. So just check your display for how it looks when it's sitting on the table. So I can see on mine, I need to trim this bottom part of. So you can still make some adjustments to some things. This page is a little long and it's not sitting right. And it's like there's nothing to worry about. You can always make another one. You know, this is all just paper. So we're not dealing with valuable materials. And a lot of times if I make a mistake, I figure out a way to cover it up. So that's another good trick. Okay, so when it's sitting here, if the pages are flopping, this is actually in place fairly well, but I'll just show you one last thing on how to keep the pages in place. If you want it, you know, probably the best way for it to look is kind of like that, you know, with the pages. So if you want that, just, I think this will work. I haven't even tried it yet. I think if you want it to keep in place kind of nicely, you can just take some paper and put it, just put it around the top. See, I'm just taking this simple white paper, putting it behind this page and using glue stick to just fold it over, or you could use ribbon. That would look a little prettier, but it's not going to be that obvious. And then just, so this paper will hold the pages in place. You use glue stick or whatever adhesive, and then you can attach that to the back. Now it's staying together. So I'll do the same thing on the other side. So actually that works pretty well. So again, this is now we're looking at all the pages behind the wall. So I'm just taking a piece of white paper that'll pretty much blend in. You know, you don't really see that. So I'm just taking some white paper and attaching it behind the wall so it's not visible, and then fold it over and then attach it to the back cover. Now it's holding in place much better. And then if you need to, you can attach pages, just use glue stick or whatever, wherever you need. If you see pages coming out, just put them in place with some glue or glue stick or double stick tape. And then again at the bottom, this I should probably do the same thing with paper on the bottom. And then that'll hold in place pretty well. Does anybody have any questions? So we just went about an hour. That worked out pretty well.
Great.
It's adorable.
Oh, good. Glad you like it. Yes, it is fun. Watch out, it can be addictive. So, yep. So yeah, that's the project. And like Sarah said, and thank you, Sarah.
You're
for
very
helping me
welcome.
with-
I'm gonna stop the recording now.
Sure.